Very shortly, the energy market regulator is about to give an update, and it'll say the bulk of Australian households will see electricity bills fall from July 1st. Let's go to Canberra, bring in the Nationals' Senator Matt Canavan. Matt, good to see you. You're relieved that that might be the case?
Well, let's wait and see all of the details. The short amount of details I've got so far is it looks like it's a very small fall, if any. Some customers seeing a slight increase, some a slight decrease. It's certainly nowhere near the $275 reduction we were promised by the Prime Minister before the last election. And worse, if you like, it seems that this is only going to be temporary relief because the decision here seems to have only come about by shaving the profit margins of energy companies. Obviously, you can only do that so many times. Can't do that again next year. They can't go into default. And it's also probably the case that the energy companies will find another way to make up these profit margins because these default offers only affect some customers in the market. And if their profits are being squeezed on these customers, they'll probably have to hike prices elsewhere.
Okay. That press conference, that's coming up in about 15 minutes' time. So we'll bring some of that to you, folks. As that comes in, speaking of profits, in the Senate today, Matt, the Greens are going to push for powers to break up the Coles-Woolworths duopoly. Is that something that you'd support?
I've supported it for a long time.
Oh my gosh, you're supporting the Greens, Matt Canavan.
A decade ago, yes, mate. Newsflash, yeah, I do. Look, I judge everything on its merits.
I think the world stopped spinning for a moment.
The enemy of your enemy is your friend. So I do think the supermarkets have way too much power in this country. They've not just have too much power, they've also conducted themselves in a way that's been proven to be unconscionable in court and never paid significant enough fines for it. They've demanded payments from suppliers outside of contracts. They've used standover tactics to small businesses. And it's just not a healthy business environment in our retail sector in this country. Now, look, I'd hope that no one would need to be split up. But what these laws do is simply provide the powers to do so if an organisation were to conduct itself in a way which has standover tactics and demand payments from suppliers, etc. Clearly, the current penalties are not working to rein in the behaviour of the big supermarkets, and I think it's about time we have the same type of penalties in our competition laws that exist in the US, the UK, Europe, Canada, all over the world.
Okay, well, if you're against that, and that's what I was going to ask, what happened to free markets?
Well, as I say, these if you're saying that divest your powers and competition laws is a breach of free market principles, how come they exist in the US? How come they exist in the UK? How come they exist in Europe? How come they exist in Canada? These are all free markets. This is simply a penalty, a severe penalty, of course, but a penalty to protect free markets. This is all about protecting free markets, so to make sure that we have free and competitive markets in place such that monopolies or oligopolies don't abuse their market position. Now, of course, the Coalition brought similar powers to the Parliament to deal with the situation in energy markets. We were going to impose divestiture powers in those markets. Now, they weren't supported by the Labor Party or others in this place, but I think there's just as much a reason to do it here in our very concentrated retail space. As I say, these aren't radical laws. We're the ones that Australia's out of step with the rest of the world on that. These laws have been in place for, in most cases, more than 100 years in those other countries. They're rarely used, but they're a useful tool to make sure that we keep free, open and competitive markets and especially a healthy environment for small businesses in this nation so they can grow and prosper and become big businesses too.
No, okay. Suppliers, farmers, they'd all agree with you, I'm sure. Just finally, Matt, the detainee saga rumbles on. Still no clear explanation yet on how many detainees may or may not be released into the public. This after Dan Tehan said on this show yesterday that it could be upwards of more than 300.
Well, that's the advice apparently from our Solicitor General. His Australian Government Solicitor advised the court last year that there could be more than 300 refugees that have to be released. The simple fact is I don't think we have a migration minister right now. He's not attending briefings. He doesn't seem to be across his brief. And so it's not so much a situation of sacking the immigration minister. It's about actually appointing one. And we actually need one right now because our border security is at risk. It took us a long, hard slog when we were last in government to protect our borders again and stop people here arriving illegally by boat. We don't want to put the very good situation we are in at risk, and the Prime Minister should immediately replace Andrew Giles as my immigration minister and appoint somebody who's going to do the job properly.
Okay. Matt Canavan, good to see you as always. We'll chat soon.